Welcome to part 3 of my idea of swatching all of my Ranger Distress products in one place. And that's this little box here. If you have missed part 1 and 2 of this video, then please check out the info box. There's a whole playlist with all of the videos that are within this little series. I mean, it has become a series. I haven't expected that this gets so full of information and a little bit overwhelming as well. I mean, in a positive way, overwhelming. So I have divided this original video into several parts, and you can find them all in the playlist linked below. In this part, I would like to swatch my Distress Oxide refillers. You can see all of the little bottles that I have in my stash here on my desk. I want to swatch them in these little booklets, and I also have a few of the Distress ink refillers that I also want to swatch today. And for that, I would like to use the back sides of my little swatch booklets here. Every color, as you can see, has this little booklet here, more or less filled up, depending on if I have the mediums from this color or not. And here on the back side I have a little space, and on the very top here I would like to start with my oxide refillers. I like to have the refillers for my oxide inks for each of the colors that I have in my stash, because this, of course, is not only helpful if your ink pad gets dry and you want to refill that, but it's also great for mixed media projects. And when I say mixed media projects, I'm talking about not only mixed media, of course. I'm also talking about art journaling or that kind of junk journaling that I'm doing here on my channel. Junk journaling mixed with a little bit of art journaling. I really like to use the inks and the oxide inks, of course, or mainly the oxide inks, to be clear, directly from those refiller bottles. And I need to know how they come out when I use them pure on my project. So that's the reason why I want to swatch these as well. Let's start with the first color, that is Black Suit. And to get the swatch approximately to the same position on each of those cards, I want to make myself a little template. So with this little thingy here, I can take the paper, excuse me, and I can line this edge up with this fold here in the middle of the card. So perhaps you can see it better like this. So I can place that here on top, line that up here on the right side and on the top, so that I then can see where my ink shall go with the help of the hole in this paper. And then I'm just putting the ink inside of this little circle, and I'm bringing that around a little bit. And now I'm taking some water to let that flow to the paper a little bit, so that I have the pure ink on the left side and the pure color, if I would apply it exactly like this. And here on this side, I have then the impression that it makes with water. The next color of the oxide refillers that I have is Ground Espresso. So I'm taking out my Ground Espresso swatch. Double check, Ground Espresso, Ground Espresso. I'm a little bit freaking my freak, because I'm a little bit afraid that I accidentally take the wrong color while I'm talking to you and I'm concentrating to my video and what I want to say. And actually I'm recording this in German and English, and I'm speaking English and then German and then English and then German. You only hear English, of course, because I'm editing that later, but in my reality it's like talking two languages at the same time and concentrating to get the right color. So I have always to double check that, to don't mess this up on the last page. Please make sure that you shake this really, really well, especially with the oxide inks, and I mean the oxide inks in the refiller bottles and the oxide sprays. It's really important to shake them really well, because you have to mix up the different ingredients here. when you see me shaking the bottles, and it seems to be really shortly that I'm shaking them, that's because I've edited the video and I'm cutting out the shaking times. If I don't speak, do you know what I mean? Then I'm cutting that out, and it seems that I am shaking them really, really not so much, but that's not the truth. It's just edited, yeah? So please make sure that you shake them enough. Otherwise you wouldn't get the real color of this ink. So we are taking this, lift that up a little bit, and spritzing some more water. I'm not sure what's the best way to do this. I mean, this is too much. If I would let this air dry now, then I wouldn't get this impression with much water. So I have to lift up a little bit of this to get this blend. Do you know what I mean? Like this. And this is also what you would do on your project in your journal, isn't it? So then I will do that, exactly the same thing, for the other oxide ink refillers that I have. The next is Vintage Photo. Okay, so when these are all finished and dry, they look like this. I have a quick little tip for you. The re-inkers for the oxide inks and also for the normal ink pads are relatively intensive, of course. I mean, that's a re-inker. Do you know what I mean? And of course, this is really, really much ink that you get here to your area. I've used a relatively big circle here to be able to see which colors I get from the single colors from the Distress palette. In some cases, here for example, it's not so extremely bam and different, or here with Villainous Potion, it's also not so very extremely this effect. But look, for example, here. So this is brushed corduroy, always a color that surprises us really much. And if you want to compare the swatch of the refiller from the oxide ink and this thing, the background that we've made with the oxide ink pad, then you can see how different that looks. And that's because I have and that's why I have taken such a big area from my swatch here for this refiller. But the bigger this area is and the more ink you are applying here, of course, the bigger is the chance that the ink gets through and comes to the other side of your paper, that it bleeds through. Here, that doesn't happen. I have tested that before I started creating my swatches. So what I am trying to say is, please choose a paper as the base for your swatch where you are 100% sure that nothing bleeds through. This watercolor paper is really good for that plan because there nothing happens. But especially here, and when you spritz water to the refiller, then, I mean to the refiller ink that you've applied here, then of course it could happen that it goes through and you don't want that. So please have that in mind before you are doing that. These turned out really, really great. They take forever to dry. That's also a point that I would like to mention if you perhaps are a beginner or you are not sure what you are doing, or if you're doing it for the first time, I mean working with the refiller inks. Please make sure that this is completely dry before you go on and before you put this back into your storage system. Here, for example, Forest Moss, this is not completely dry yet. You can see this little shine there. It's a little bit glossy on the surface. I don't know, my camera can't catch that. But you can see that it is not totally dry. So please, please, please don't do it like this and then put it back into the box, because otherwise you would have this smearing to your next swatch, and you don't want that, of course. So next we can go to the Distress ink refillers. I have a few colors: Forest Moss, Bundled Sage, Cracked Pistachio, Uncharted Mariner, and interestingly Iced Spruce. I don't know why I have Iced Spruce, but let's see. So I have taken out Forest Moss, Bundled Sage, Cracked Pistachio, and Uncharted Mariner. For Iced Spruce, I have to take out a new base because I don't have the Iced Spruce oxide ink pad. There's no excuse for that. I mean, why is that? I definitely have to buy Iced Spruce oxide ink because this is such a great color, but yeah, I only have the refiller here, and I guess I have the normal ink pad. Yes, I have the normal ink pad, so we have to find a solution for that, but of course that's not your problem. Okay, so we need something similar like here. For this swatch I have made this little circle, but I think that I want to do that for the normal re-inkers a little bit different, because they are not so crazy with the colors. Do you know what I mean? When I put the oxide ink here and I spritz water, then it gives me many different colors, but with the normal re-inkers it's not like that. So I think I will just take a little drop of this, put that here, and then spritz some water. I think that's enough. So we can just test that with Forest Moss. I'm hoping that that will work, so that we don't need too much of the ink. Double check. So I want to have the ink on each of the swatches approximately in the same place. So I'm taking this template from before just as a protection, and I'm placing that here so that I touch the end of my tab here. So that is a good orientation, I would say, so that I have a straight line here, and now I can apply a little bit of the ink there. Directly below this line, and then some water. Ooh. Like this. Ah! And I want to blend this as well. So I'm taking my paper towel and I'm just lifting up a little bit of the ink here on the right side, so that I can see how it would look with very much water, and you know, when you lift the ink up. And now I will let that air dry. Okay, so when this is dry, it looks like this, and I really like that I can compare both refillers here directly next to each other. That's really, really helpful to decide which medium of the same color you would like to use. Especially here with Forest Moss, it's really, really impressive how different that is. And of course, that makes a whole difference when you use this or this on your project. And for that, it's really helpful to have these next to each other. I will let these dry completely now. I think I will wait another night before I will put all of those and also the others there back into my little box here, so that I can make really sure that they are completely dry. And in my next video I would like to go on with my distress paints. I have bought some secondhand, and I want to swatch those as well. Somewhere here on the back, perhaps we have a little space here. I need 2 spaces. I need 1 space for the paint and 1 space for the embossing powders and glazes that I have. So let's see if that will work. And I also have to think about what to do with the few ink pads that I have. I realized that here with Iced Spruce, when I found my Iced Spruce Distress ink refiller that I have put here, I realized that I don't have planned a space for normal ink swatching. I mean for the ink pads. So what to do with the few ink pads that I have? Any suggestions? Please call me. So I have very few ink pads and I have to find a solution how to swatch those. I'm mainly working with the spray stains. That's the reason why I don't have so many normal ink pads. But what if I want to buy some more in the future? Then I need space on my swatches to swatch them. I have to think about that, and we will talk about that in my upcoming videos. Perhaps I can find a solution for that. Yeah, so I need coffee now. This is so much fun, but it's also so time consuming, but it's just great. It's just great. I'm hoping that you can see that as well and that you are already at your desk and making something for yourself and for your own collection of mediums. See you the next time. Stay creative. Bye bye.